All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our workshop on biodiesel in school buses. We've got an amazing lineup of experts in the field and panelists this morning, and I'm really looking forward to a stimulating discussion. Hopefully we'll get out of it some sort of sense of direction from where we can take this issue in the school sector in Hong Kong and some tangible outcomes. This is the outline of the next 90 minutes. I'm going to make a brief introduction about the Alliance, and then I'm going to ask ASB Biodiesel, one of the big manufacturers here in Hong Kong, to come and talk about biodiesel, give you a bit of background on the subject so that you're informed, and then we'll look at some success stories from around the world of biodiesel in school buses. One of the great success stories is the Green School Bali, and they've kindly agreed to present to us this morning, and there's some other examples in Dubai, so we'll hear from a bus company in Dubai that's running 200 school buses in Dubai on biodiesel and their fuel supplier Nutrifuels. And then we'll go to a panel discussion. So we have Shell, the Harbour School, WWF, and ASB Biodiesel participating in the panel discussion. So really knowledgeable participants in the industry, an industry that's been in existence in Hong Kong for nearly a decade now. So it's high time, I think, that we put some of this great fuel to use in school buses. So who's the Alliance for Sustainable Schools? Basically, we're a network of schools working together for a sustainable future. And we're doing that because we believe that on certain issues, one of them being the issue that we're here to talk about today, schools collaborating are more likely to be effective in bringing about change than working on these issues in isolation or on their own. Who are we and what do we do? So first of all, we're a non-profit. And our members share a commitment to sustainability principles that are articulated in something called the Sustainable Schools Charter. We're also a community of practice. And as we'll see this morning, in certain areas and on certain issues, there are pockets of very deep expertise in schools, in some of these areas, in individual schools, both in Hong Kong and around the region. And our aim is to make that expertise more available, more widely known in the school sector, to amplify its impact, and to facilitate a solutions-focused conversation among schools about sustainability in these four areas of schools' operations. Two things that differentiate us. First, we're interested in working at a systems level. So we're trying to understand where the levers are at the systems level to make changes in these areas. And the second is that we're focused on four things. And those four things are sustainable school buses, sustainable school uniforms, sustainable school buildings, and sustainable school food. Why those four areas? It's because we think that most schools' environmental footprint arises from these four things. And those four areas are unsustainable today because there's a well-established system in place of service providers, of processes, of relationships, of incentives, and of mindsets that perpetuates business as usual and resists new ways of thinking and doing. And part of the thinking behind wanting to develop TAS into a network of sustainability practitioners in schools is that networks provide a conducive environment for rapid change. It's been demonstrated in the context of electrical networks, and it's also proving to be the case in the case of social change. So our operating model has four components to it. First of all, we want to connect. We want to build a network of practitioners and develop this community of practice. Secondly, we're about engaging, not with individual schools, but with schools and partners in the community who have expertise. Partners in the community who are willing to take risks, innovators in the community, partners in the community that know how to do things in these areas. Bus companies in the context of today's workshop. And we want to do that in order to problem solve and come up with ways to do things better. Thirdly, we want to demonstrate examples. This is about showing that there is a better way and that the better way is feasible. And so today, we'll hear examples from the Green School Bali, as I said, and from a bus company in Dubai that operates 200 of its school buses on biodiesel. And finally, we're interested in scaling. So we want to, and some people are squeamish about the word scale because they say that we have to be doing these solutions on a local level, and we don't disagree with that. So another way to think about scale in this context is replicating. Once we've demonstrated feasible solutions with one school on one bus and one bus company on one bus route in one location, there's really no reason why that can't be replicated in all schools in many cities around the region and around the world. We are a relatively new organization, but we are fortunate to count among our founding members some of the leading schools in Hong Kong. Kellett School, Chinese International School, ISF Academy, and indeed, as we're beginning to expand to schools in the region, the other logo here on the top line is from the Prince of Wales Islands School in Penang, Malaysia. And these are some of the terrific partners that have agreed to work with us in developing solutions for those 4 areas. I won't speak too much longer about the work that we've done. I think this workshop is one example of the kind of thing that we are doing more of. And I just wanted to mention the charter, because I alluded to that in my opening remarks. So the charter is a document that heads of schools sign when they join the Alliance. And it basically consists of 3 parts. The first part is a statement, an acknowledgement that basically we're facing serious environmental crises and that schools have a part to play not only in contributing to these crises but also in mitigating them. Second part is a recognition that schools have 3 kinds of obligations to work on these problems. One is ethical, civic, and the third is social. And the final part of the document is a pledge from the head of school to run the school according to sustainable principles. So if you're in the audience, I hope you will consider becoming a member of the Alliance. So now I'd like to invite Zoe from ASB Biodiesel to present about biodiesel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Hello, I'm Zoe from ASB. I'm super excited to have you here, excited about the conversation we will get to have today. I know at the time it's hard to show up. That's why I'm so proud of you for making it here. Today, I want to focus on waste to energy. To be sustainability become a target in the whole world. It might be many confusion and myths during your exploration of solutions. But what does our environmental need immediately? We believe a circular waste management method must be one of the critical tasks, especially the waste from F&B. So, wastewater, food waste, and waste oil that might produce during cooking, and nearly 1,000 tons of waste oil produced in Hong Kong every month. Those organic wastes must have a specific process to treat. Otherwise, it may cause pollution of underground water or other nuisance. Therefore, we invited by Hong Kong Invest with overseas investor. ASB Biodiesel was founded in 2007, and our first batch of biodiesel was come out in 2014, which produced by organic waste oil. So we have total 8 years of experience in biodiesel mass production in Hong Kong, and we propose 4,000 tons of waste oil every month. Okay. A bit more background about our plant. We are located in Tseung Kwan O, and our production capacity is 100,000 tons per year. The approximate diesel consumption of Hong Kong is 1.44 million tons each year. So our production rate is 6% of the yearly regular diesel that has been used in Hong Kong. And our biodiesel meets the international requirement, and more than 3,000 of waste-based biodiesel supplying to Europe every month. Also, our board, Partner Energy, is among the top 3 waste cooking oil collectors in China. So why ASB produce the biodiesel, and what is biodiesel? Why do we produce it? So biodiesel is a renewable fuel produced by organic oil, such as vegetable oil, animal fat, or waste cooking oil. At the left side photo, a dark brown bottle you can see, this is the waste oil we collected from Rostron in Hong Kong. We flew two simple chemical process called esterification and trans-esterification to get the biodiesel. So see the beautiful light yellow color in the bottom. This is our pure biodiesel. You can see, based on Europe standard, for the whole supply chain, waste-based biodiesel create 14.9 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule total emission from raw material to product distribution. This has a comparatively 84% GHG saving from the fossil fuel. According to HKEPD study, apart from lower life emission cycle, the usage of biodiesel will emit less pollutants, as well as higher blending ratio of biodiesel will bring lower emission of pollutants as well. So this is an actual circular economy model and a complete waste management method for primary use in food chain, and then go to the second level use as a fuel. Finally, the carbon could be uptaken by the plant again. So this is our sustainability commitment and our ideal vision for the world. To maintain our sustainability, we have also complied with a legal sustainability system in Europe and America. We have Europe ISCC certificate and registered in USA EPA. For those parties, give the industrial standard of our GHG value, and they verify our production process in yearly audit. Both parties are checking all the related documents and actual operation in each stage of the supply chain, as we are the waste collectors, processor, and also the seller. Our whole supply chain on the operation and GHG value has to be audited. It means the result is not only represent the process of our plant, it also includes the raw materials, logistics, and also the energy total consumption between each step. It is quite similar to GHG topic in Hong Kong about the GHG reporting on scope 1, 2, 3. So some figure right now is globally, more and more countries request to use renewable energy in transportation and other fields, such as in Germany, their biodiesel is mandatory at 7% blending, and Indonesia is 30% blending, and in Shanghai is 5%. So for us in Hong Kong, the government is promoting 5% biodiesel blending, which we call B5, but this is not a mandatory, it is a voluntary. Also, we can see the figure in from HKEMSD report 2020. Biodiesel become a second large source of renewable energy in Hong Kong. And the report tells us the volume of biodiesel application has increased by 80% since 2016. This is a cheerful transformation, and we can see the listed companies' sustainability report that biodiesel is helping those companies to improve their environmental performance. Like Jockey Cup has adopted the B5 in the riding school, and some of the construction companies have about 80% biodiesel adoption in their business. We are really appreciate that they bring those change to the environment. So we talk so many benefits. So how to apply biodiesel and why link up with the school bus? So for biodiesel, it's 100% biodiesel. We call it B100. It can be used in specific B100 genset. However, the existing diesel engine is not suitable to apply B100. To solve it, biodiesel can be used by blending with diesel to be B5 to B20. B is mean the biodiesel, and the numbers means the percentage of biodiesel mixed into the diesel, like B5. It can be used in diesel genset, construction site, and diesel vehicle engine without modification. I believe both of us may have a question. We have the hardware and the solution for 8 years, but why biodiesel is still not being common in Hong Kong? When I receive some new sales inquiries on biodiesel, I have so much feedback to say no, so I summarize 4 main reasons for them. Firstly, and this is the most common, the distribution. And not many filling stations are supplying the B5 in Hong Kong. And then also the cost, because as a procurement team, you can only compare with the price without any government policy or the internal policy about the environmental. It's difficult to switch to B5. We all know to go green must need extra spending on the R achievement. Thirdly, to be honest, most of the waste is free to collect or have to pay the processing fee to the collectors. However, waste cooking oil, the waste cooking oil collection service is the opposite of the regular market. So we have to pay for when we're collecting the waste oil, we have to pay for that oil, and that's why the manufacturing cost will be higher than the other one. Last but not least, not much policy is supporting and has no direction on the biofuel market in Hong Kong. In even 3 to 5 years, they have no plan to promote the biodiesel. So the environmental department always encourage go green and sustainability, but no target for all the industry. It is hard to push and follow. So here what I know about you. You want to make an impact on the environment like us. I say that because you could be just sitting in office, working like normal and doing nothing about this, but you choose to be here. So we also never stop our step. Currently, we have a cooperation with a Complex Group Hong Kong about the used cooking oil collection from school for sustainable recycle. Complex Group Hong Kong is a subsidiary of Complex Group PLC, established in 1994, and they have been the market leader in food service for local international school and university. We all have the same thought, to bring a real sustainable waste and carbon cycle to our next generation, giving the best we could for the future. So we believe our solution is perfectly fit in school operation, from school waste cooking oil collection and then biodiesel production adopted in the school bus field. So the whole supply chain could create a zero waste, low emissions cycle economy for a sustainable community. So for all of you, we might be the last time to see each other, but before I pass to the next speaker or next section, I need to remind you that we all have a responsibility, so don't wait anymore. Our environmental have no time. We must act and plan for the circular and sustainable economy. We and our next generation should enjoy a better environment. And I want to say much thank you of you. Have an amazing day, and hope we give you a hand of a sustainability solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. The next item is a presentation from Geoff Huskinson and Matthew, who's a student at the Green School in Bali. So if the Wi-Fi gods smile on us, we will beam them in. And we might have time for 1 or 2 audience questions after this presentation before we then cross to Dubai. Geoff and Matthew, the floor is yours.
Good morning to you all from a very rainy Bali. Our plan this morning is to give you all a bit of an introduction, a brief introduction really to the BioBus social enterprise project here at Green School Bali, and to show you how it came about really. But as a brief introduction for you all, again, myself, my name is Geoff Huskinson. I've been teaching here at Green School Bali. This is the beginning of my 4th year. And I had a sort of past life, let's say, in environmental agriculture and recycling of organic waste in Ireland. And I was brought here by none other than your honourable panellist, Master Kyle King there. And I have been here since then as a practical arts teacher and BioBus coordinator. And this is Matthew.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Rostron. I'm a grade 12 student here at Green School Bali. I've been here for roughly 6-7 years, but a part of the BioBus team for 3.
Matthew is currently in his final year here and is doing his final project on the BioBus project itself. And so as a result, it's nice to have him on board for you all to be able to see some of how this has been for our students here as a little bit of experience. So very briefly, we've got a video that we've made up for you that will do a lot to explain a little bit about the operations of what we're doing and how we go about it, and to also explain the impact in the classroom. But as a sort of a beginning, as an explanation, here at Green School, we very much focus on real hands-on and project-based learning, and the idea that students, through inquiry and through being presented with issues, try and come up with solutions. And that's very much what caused the BioBus to grow legs, so to speak. It was based on the idea of our community and getting our students to school. And the video will go some way to explain a little bit about what that happened, but they saw an issue with our transportation, and they saw that it wasn't a sustainable way to transport all our students from around the island with nearly 200 cars coming into the car park every morning. And they tried to come up with a solution for it. And as a result, they also showed enormous learning from it. I think Karl once said to me, I forget who we got the quote from, but he said, but the real way to learn things is to do things. You learn from doing it. And these students very much did that under the guidance of Pat Kyle. And this video here, which I'm going to give a second to buffer, should shine some light a little bit on how that came about. BioBus is a student concept that came up with a intention to solve an issue that the students of 2014 identified with our transport system here at school. At the time, there were 200 cars coming to school every day. And under the guidance of the former head of high school, Pat Kyle, they set about checking to see if there was a feasible way that they could put in place a fleet of buses that ran off biodiesel.
The problem that the BioBus project is solving is used cooking oil being used in local restaurants, and then they just throw it away into subaks, into the rivers, causing environmental problems, but also BioBus trying to cut down on the transportation and the CO2 emissions of students here at Green School.
BioBus ini sangat penting menurut saya, itu terutama ketika kita mengalami masalah iklim atau lingkungan. Sesuai dengan misi Green School juga, kita akan berusaha untuk fokus mengurangi masalah tersebut.
The biggest thing I've learned is how much oil restaurants use. Like, it's incredible. And that they just throw it away and put it into the subaks. So I think it's really interesting that, like, something that's worthless to some people are like treasures to others.
The BioBus is a beautiful example of the real pedagogy, and that the R is relationship. So having a wonderful solution inside our bamboo gates doesn't mean much if we're not connecting it to the world outside of that. So what this does is it encourages students to understand the reality of, well, why is that cooking oil being reused? Why is it being sold on this market over here, and how do we access that? It also helps them understand how complicated sustainability is. And we've just experienced that throughout COVID, is that when we had these people that we always went to and got oil from, they shut down. And suddenly we actually couldn't get access to them again. But then also when we went back, knowing that this was another way for people to make money after desperately not having jobs, it gives the student a better understanding of realities of different people in the communities that they get to live in.
Kami juga punya program ke masyarakat lokal. Jika mereka mau mengumpulkan minyak bekasnya sebesar 250 liter, kami akan berikan satu armada kami plus satu driver kami untuk mengantarkan mereka Tirta-yatra ke pura-pura dengan 1 hari secara gratis. Jadi kami harap dengan impact tersebut mereka jadi peduli akan lingkungan.
The learning opportunities the BioBus provides our students are almost countless, from its very conception with auditing and looking at our efficiency and looking at our impact. It's brought it into the chemistry classes, a lot of the science classes, physics, mechanics, a lot of the entrepreneurial aspects of what we do here, like our soap making and small to medium enterprise.
So much of learning hasn't got that purpose aspect, where the BioBus is a beautiful example of not only just process learning, so understanding the problem and then a solution, but then actually knowing how to connect those two pieces.
Sustainability should be important because just saving our Earth, like, that's all why we're here. That's why we do these projects.
What's so beautifully highlighted by what the BioBus project has become is that it came from a thought, and the whole community gathered around that idea, and it became what it is today as a result. So I hope that has given you all an introduction as to how the BioBus project started up in 2014, and that rather takes us up to date, and it continues to be a very central part of a lot of the classes and the curriculum that we deliver here, and it's very much focused with students at the center, one of which those students has been Matthew for the last couple of years. And well, I'm going to allow Matthew to start to talk about what that has entailed and a little bit of the impact of exactly what that's been.
Yeah, so there have been 3 main impacts of BioBus, which is the educational side of it, the social side, which is the community and the transportation, and which is the effects that it has on the environment. So we have 4
Education first.
Education. Sure. So we have 4 learning opportunity-aided classes that comes with BioBus and learning about the oil, marketing and promotion, and then transportation, logistics, and auditing. So I'm going to start off with Grease Police. Basically, Grease Police was a team of students that went out in the BioBuses or in the buses that were early on, I'm not sure, but basically raising awareness with hotels, restaurants, whoever they can talk to, finding donors, finding a BioBus producer, which was Lingas Hijau, which is the first recycling plant in Bali for used cooking oil, and then buying the buses, finding staff to run those buses, but also, and then collecting oil from hotels, restaurants, and local warongs. But yeah, we have over 4,000 liters of oil collected per month from all of those donors and sponsors.
At its peak, yeah. Some of the associated classes, again, as a teacher here at Green School, we try and incorporate as much of what our students experience on campus and the problems that they're facing day to day. So this BioBus project itself has started sort of expanding out into other sides. So we start looking at trying to bring the BioBus into our classrooms and start to learn a little about it. Some of these classes, again, Matthew, I think you've pretty much covered all my classes at this stage. Almost sick of the sight of me, I'm sure. But again, these are some of the classes that we cover.
So we've had WhatsApp saponification class, which was making soap out of the used cooking oil, but other oils that we could get our hands on. The pump class, which was learning about the fuel industry, testing the quality of our used cooking oil here at school, but then also learning about the energy industry and the history behind the fuel industry. And then marketing and enterprise, which was mainly the soap. So we also giving it to our donors and sponsors, but then also marketing the soap, getting a final product that we would sell to the community members.
I think we have another picture of those.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one of the glasses of all the different soaps that some of our students have made, again, using different oils. So the idea of saponification and the chemistry behind that. And then they've also been able to sort of work on the idea of small to medium enterprise and business startup, looking at product development all the way to actually placement and selling that product. And so that process of actually bringing something to market, and we have a high school or a green school market here on Fridays that they've been able to sell to our community and go through that experience of starting up a small business. On top of that, since its concept, BioBus also trying to get our people on the bus. So I think it was originally with I think it was the Hong Kong Polytech. The Hong Kong Polytech helped us and worked in collaboration with us to design an app. And a lot of our students got involved with coding that application and the sort of design of it. And the idea, it works very similarly to booking.com in that you sort of find out your seat availability, on which routes, on which dates, to try and get our community onto the buses and to make sure that on top of that, our students were also reaching out to the community, doing surveys and audits to see where our community was, where were the buses needed, what routes did we need to plan, how can we get people on the buses to facilitate their need or their desire to get to school in a sustainable way. So again, these are sort of further tendrils of what was done. So the idea of getting people to be able to engage in it and make it more user-friendly. On top of that, numerous awards and presentations. Matthew, is there anything you want to add on that? I mean, it speaks for itself, rather, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of awards, presentations that BioBus has done, a lot of TED Talks because of the scale of the project and what this project is as a whole to green schools community, but also Bali changing the way that we do transportation for the better, but also figuring out the issue and like making it local and connecting with everyone. And it's just been,
I think it's its own success, and that you can see there. I think Karl, before he left us for Hong Kong, was in Finland, I think it was. He went to make presentations there. BioBus has made its way around the world, not just in the kilometers that it's covered, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also in how it's gone out and presented this concept as a viable concept. And our students, again, at the forefront on pretty much everything we do here. They have driven it, and they've been the students on stage and giving those talks.
But also students lobbying the Bali government, local politicians, politics. And they managed to create and install the first biodiesel pump in Indonesia, the first B100 pump that is sitting over there in our parking lot for public use for our community, fuels the buses, fuels staff cars and other B100 cars we have in the fleet.
So it was a landmark moment, really, to have members of the government come and open this pump officially, it being the first one, and one that you could actually come with your money in your pocket and pay for biodiesel into your car, which in our Pertamina controlled world here was a huge thing. The tendrils obviously go on beyond that, as I was saying, with the education side of things. We've tried to exploit all the opportunities that has come from, and mechanics classes have come as a result of it. I've very much enjoyed showing students the ins and outs of combustion engines and the difference between petrol and diesel-driven engines. But this was a particularly fun project in a class, again, with students and in association with local Bengkel or garage here, where they both designed and built and then proceeded to ride around this biobike, which is a diesel bicycle or diesel motorbike. And we are at this point looking at this fleet of vehicles, all our staff and parents. It has gone to collection trucks. We're looking at ambulances, and you can see that the fleet has grown, but impact-wise, social impact.
So we've had a significant social impact outside of the vehicles that we have in Bali being used for trips. So we've had 4,950 sustainable trips to date, 300,000 commuter rides offered so far since 2014, employing 15 full-time local staff to drive the buses and also collect oil for us. And Kyle King, obviously, who is not
Kyle.
with us anymore, but he will always be.
Environmental impact. Yeah, ultimately you can see it here. And these are conservative numbers, about 160,000 commuter car journeys removed from our roads. We've also reduced the amount of carbon dioxide that's not been emitted from fossil fuels being burnt. We've basically saved over 1,000 tons of cooking oil from ending up inevitably in our water systems here. But fundamentally, we've raised awareness, and we've raised the awareness of biodiesel as a potential alternative to fossil fuels. And we've shown that it can work, and it can be a project that can grow legs elsewhere as well. And that's really what we're trying to do. Outside of what we've achieved here, what we're wanting to do now is obviously more BioBus in Bali.
Yeah.
More schools, more hotels, more of the of that aspect being used here. But also, we'd like it to move on, and we'd like it to grow as a seed somewhere else. So it's over to you, Hong Kong, we believe. So all
Geoff.
our support with that, and we hope that we can collaborate.
Geoff
But
and
thank
Matthew.
you all very much. I hope that gives us an idea.
Thank you both very
We'll
much.
stop our screen
a
share
fascinating
and-
story, and thanks for sharing it with us. We're going to cut almost immediately to our colleagues in Dubai, Karl and his colleague Steve from STS, the bus company there. Over to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Excellent. If I can share my screen, I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction to our business, Neutral Fuels. There we go. Can you see that okay? Excellent. I'm not going to take up too much time because our colleagues ASG already explained how biodiesel is created and some of the interesting challenges. It is notable that Neutral Fuels has adopted a different and rather unique business model for creation of biofuels. We believe that it's imperative to operate in a closed loop system, which means locally sourcing the cooking oil, locally processing the cooking oil, and then locally consuming the cooking oil as biodiesel. So we set our business up in 2011. It took us approximately 3 months to commission our biorefinery, and we launched in June 2011 and with a partnership with McDonald's restaurants. We've been growing ever since. It took us 6 years, and we formed a partnership with the local fuel company here, Emirates National Oil Company. And then in 2020, so 2 years ago, our biggest customer is now the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, which is a very large oil business running out of Abu Dhabi. They are using our biofuel internally to reduce their own carbon footprint. This is quite a different approach. As you can see on the left-hand side there, we've partnerships with many well-known brands, and we operate according to a closed-loop system. We've also achieved now over 20 million kilometers with McDonald's running on pure biodiesel with absolutely no fossil fuel at all. We operate this closed loop using a lot of technology. We have apps for the collection of the cooking oil to keep it tracked and logged so that we have a complete audit trail according to the international ISCC methodology, and our app is approved by them. We then track the conversion through our factory, and then we track the supply of the fuel out to the local fleets, which obviously in this case includes the school buses. This is the app. You can download it from App Store on Apple. We've been running this since Q3 of 2020, and it allows us uniquely to keep track of where our oil is coming from, when we collect it, who's responsible for it, and then we give all of that feedback to the restaurants through a cloud server. So we provide them with a dashboard of quality control information on how well their restaurants are using the oil. When we come to supply the fuel, we supply using an intelligent fuel management system that allows us to keep track of the fuel consumption And our goal is to help our customers reduce their fuel consumption. We've been very successful with this, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like when it's installed on the customer site. And this is one of the tanks installed above ground in a school car park outside a school in Dubai. And this is one of the tanks that we've put in with a dispensing system there. It's approved by the government. It's fully safe. It's all done according to the regulations, and it allows us to supply fuel from this tank to multiple schools. And the real thing that I wanted to say about the school bus program in Dubai is that it relies completely on the support of a fantastic company that supplies the school buses, but not just that, they provide an excellent service to the schools. And I'd like to hand over, if I can, to my colleague Steve, who is running the school bus company called STS in Dubai. So if I stop sharing, then Steve, you should be able to take over.
Well, thank you very much, Karl, and good morning, everybody. The presentations so far have been excellent. I say so far because you have mine to go. And it's been really, really engaging. Geoff, Anthony, you mentioned at the beginning 3 words that really resonate with our business. One of them is the element of scalability. You mentioned innovation and you mentioned engagement. And in terms of engagement, and I make no apology for this, everybody's got mobile phones now, and I'm sure that 100% of you use Instagram. And the reason I'm asking you to just take your phone out, which I'm sure is on silent, and just go onto Instagram and search STS_GCC. Now, yes, it's a bit of PR, but there's a lot of information on there with regards to our environmental approach, our safeguarding approach for students, which we know is first and foremost in everything we do every day. But also what we do around training. And if there's any ideas that are on there that you believe could support you, then we want to be seen as a role model, and we're happy to share those details with you. So have a look through some of the videos. Have a look at Lenny, who talks about safe journeys on school buses and some of the other work that we do, and you'll see the awards of Rostron on there. So please join STS_GCC. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, quick overview. We've got 3 simple words that outline our values, and they are safe, timely, and smart. And that's in everything that we do. How we think, how we act, how we engage with our students, with the schools that we provide services to. And I rather think of us as not a transport business moving people, more so a people business moving buses. And that changes the way that we think. So in terms of scope, we're currently providing services to 83 schools in the UAE, and we recently launched in Qatar as well, where we're serving 3 schools. That equates to around 86,000 students every day, and you can read the rest of it. A lot of kilometres. It's now over 400,000 kilometres each and every day across a fleet of 3,500 vehicles. But they're not just school buses. We also work in the corporate sector as well, providing services for employees and VIP services for blue chip companies in the UAE. Some of the values that we work upon, and I really just want to focus on the role model performance. So I want our business and the team do as well to be admired within the industry. And if we can get other operators to think and act the way that we do, then it just improves everything for everybody. Certainly when it comes to one of the most important areas, which is modal shift of taking people from private cars and putting them into buses or school buses and transportation. The guys in Bali mentioned earlier, 200 cars coming to a school every day, and I'm sure based on the infrastructure in Bali, it's very relevant. For example, one of the schools that we provide services to here There are 10,000 students in that school. We have just under 200 buses operating in that school. And you can imagine the logistical challenges that we have every day. Fortunately, 85% of the students use the school bus. So our penetration levels are very high at that one particular school. And we're constantly looking at innovation on how do we create more modal shift. Most certainly, how do we further develop the use of biodiesel that we have through our wonderful partner, giving you some payback there with Karl. So one of the key messages is everything that we do around service excellence doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose because of the amount of work that we do around being progressive, being committed, engaging, creating trust, being a role model performer, and obviously innovation, which requires investment. So if we look at our biofuel story as of today, there's a very colourful map of the UAE. We provide services now in 6 of the 7 Emirates. The one that isn't showing there is Ajman. So this is our our operating map in the UAE. I mentioned Qatar where we started. So the largest concentration that we have is in Dubai. So out of our fleet of school buses, which are 2,760 yellow buses, nearly 1,800 of them operate in Dubai and Dubai schools. And that caters for services of just over 55,000 students. So the biofuel buses, specific numbers are 257, which is 14% of our Dubai fleet, and it is growing. The last 2 years have been extremely difficult, but we will no doubt now start increasing that footprint to get a larger service line of buses operating on biofuel. And that's serving biofuel students of around 10,000, which is around 17% of the students that operate and use our services in Dubai. We have 3 dedicated installed biofuel tanks. The Karl showed you a picture. You can see one of them below at GEMS Modern Academy. And we provide services to 7 schools. And again, that is growing. There is a full engagement program with Neutral Fuels, with the Dubai Civil Defence, with all of the local authorities to make sure that we have the right levels of approval. And then there's the installation program, the training program that we do, and then the awareness program that we have at schools.
Steve, can I interrupt you?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to share that bottom left-hand picture there of the tank installed at GEMS Modern Academy is the first school refueling facility in the whole country. It took us years of working together with STS to get permission to do that. And it was driven by the principal of the school, who said that she wanted to make sure that her children on the school buses had the opportunity to run on biofuel. And working together, we were able to get planning permission to put that tank on there. It's a fully approved, United Nations qualified double skin tank. It's very safe, and it's approved by the fire authorities in Dubai, as are all our tanks. Once we got that first one in, it became so much easier to get the second and the third ones in. And this is really a testament to the great work that STS has done on this, because you just can't give up. You just have to keep working hard and hard and hard. And in the end, the authorities saw the value in what we were doing.
This is the biofuel story. In 2018, we started with mobile fueling, running through now to 2021, 22. I hope you can see the screen. That shows you the 3 tanks and the buses that serves. It's a bit hub and spoke. So the central tanks that we have at some schools then provide the spoke service to other schools that we have. I mentioned at the beginning around engagement, creating sustainability in the education sector for school busing is more than just biofuel. It's also having the right practices, the right processes, the right people, the right products in place. Some of our focus areas you can see, biofuel, new markets, female bus drivers, usually unheard of in the UAE, but we now have 5 out of the 3,500 drivers that we have. And obviously the technology that we use, route optimization, we have our own app and the smart bus technology. If I could just really finish off with, rather than going into our technology, we have a responsibility as a transport provider to develop road safety transport programs. This was an award that we received from the Roads and Transport Authority a couple of years ago. We developed a smart safety bus, which is a fun bus, and we call it edutainment. We take it around schools. We talk about the important elements of road safety, danger zones, crossing the road, buckling up, which is, a constant program, wearing seatbelts. And we use this product because there is no real road safety curriculum within schools. So we see that as our responsibility to promote this around the education sector and therefore enhance the awareness of students using public transport or even using private cars and being safe on the street.
Steve and Karl, thank you both very much. It's really interesting to hear other success stories around the world. Thanks for your innovation and for your contribution this morning. Please stay with us if you have the time. I'm going to now invite our panelists to come up to the front, and we'll have some discussion about how we might do this in Hong Kong and what the obstacles are. Very good. So we've got about 25 to 30 minutes for this panel discussion. I'd like to begin just by asking each of the panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi, this is Nick from the Railway Fund Hong Kong. In fact, we have published a in-depth study report on biofuel in 2021, and we hope to make use of various opportunities to make use of a wider application of biofuel, because we think biofuel is a necessary tool in accelerating the road to go for energy transitions. I think it's an important tool, and let's see if we can drive any opportunities in this discussion.
Yeah, so just to re-emphasize that, Nick's report for WWF was published a couple of years ago, and it's comprehensive and excellent, and I would recommend that if you're interested in taking this further, you have a read of it. It's available online. Thomas.
Okay. Dear all, nice to meet you. I come from the SB Biodiesel and located in TKO plant. We convert the waste cooking oil to be biodiesel, and welcome all of you to visit our plant if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Lawrence?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me today here. My name is Lawrence Kwok. I'm from Shell Hong Kong. I manage the corporate relations for Shell in Hong Kong. In February 2021, Shell announced its Powering Progress strategy, which accelerates the transition of our business to net zero emissions by 2050. So the key responsibilities of my role is to help our company to deliver the strategy effectively through stakeholder engagement, branding and communications, and policy and advocacy. So I'm very delighted to be here today to discuss about biodiesel in Hong Kong with some old friends and new friends here, and we look forward to the fruitful discussion today.
Thanks. You, Lawrence. Kyle. Pack Kyle, as they kept calling
I'm not Geoff Huskinson with an American accent. Though that is a common mistake. My name is Kyle. I did work with Geoff in the BioBus team for years. I've been doing BioBus, transportation, in biodiesel for about a decade now. I work at the Harbor School currently as the co-principal there, and also very involved with their sustainability mission over there.
Is it fair to say that you could be called the father of the BioBus?
Yes. Maybe, something like,
so
now the godfather.
We're really pleased to have your expertise and perspective on the panel. So what we heard this morning from the presentations so far was that biodiesel has an 85% lower carbon emissions than fossil diesel. It recycles a waste stream that's hard to recycle and that has no other high-value use. It's available locally at scale, and in fact the quantity of the capacity to produce biodiesel in Hong Kong is something like 10 times the amount of biodiesel that's currently used in the fuel system here in Hong Kong. So I think a question that must be on everybody's mind is certainly one I'm looking forward to hearing the answers from the panel on, is why with all these good qualities and availability, why isn't biodiesel being used more widely in Hong Kong? So let me put that question to Thomas to start with.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. I think the most important is the policy from the Hong Kong local is zero compared to other countries where they already talking about B5 to B30. The second is the cost consideration for the company to use biodiesel, yes or not. And then I think the finally is a lack of the financial incentive to encourage more companies to use for the biodiesel. Yes.
And Nick, what are your thoughts on that? Why isn't more biodiesel being used in Hong Kong at the moment?
I think I agree with Thomas. The price is a very high concern from the operators because it means the operation cost to them. And I think the awareness is another matter because if you talk about biofuel, some of the people may not know what it is. But of course, for bus operator or those heavy vehicle operators, they may know what it is, but they will bet to their consideration on the cost and the availability. By what time or by what location I could fill it, does it match our operation routes, etc. And I think these are the key factors in preventing the further popularity. And of course, there are some other factors like policy, but I think it's covered in our later discussions. Yeah.
I had a conversation, my colleagues and I, with a bus company operator in the last few weeks, and we spoke to someone in upper middle management running a school bus service, and they weren't aware that biodiesel was available in Hong Kong. So I think to your point about awareness is spot on. There's really a massive education campaign that needs to be run, not just to let people know that it's available, but actually to understand what it is and what the benefits of it are. And you spoke about availability, and I want to ask Lawrence from Shell to speak a little bit about the distribution of biodiesel in Hong Kong currently.
First of all, I'm very surprised to hear that there's little awareness about biodiesel in Hong Kong. So maybe our marketing team has to do a better job on that.
Everybody's marketing team does.
Right. Okay. So about the distribution, a little bit of history here. So back in 2014, Shell becomes the first oil company in Hong Kong to supply biodiesel to B5 biodiesel to our commercial customers. And then in 2015, we became the first oil company in Hong Kong to supply biodiesel in retail filling stations. So a little bit of, on the production side of B5. So in our Shell Qingyi terminal, we have been fully licensed by the Hong Kong government's Fire Services Department to manufacture and store B5 biodiesel. And we also have a very stringent quality assurance process in place to blend and store biodiesel to make sure that our products meet the required legislated specifications. And we also have a very advanced computerized system to calculate the exact blending quantities and to execute the blending ratio by so-called static mixer during the loading phase. And so we can achieve very consistent quality batches by batches. So on the distribution side, so we currently have 3 of our Shell filling stations in Qingyi, Ma'anshan, and Kowloon Bay to supply biodiesel. Or alternatively, we can deliver the biodiesel to our customers by our delivery fleet directly to the designated storage areas.
So Lawrence, we've been making biodiesel in Hong Kong for 10 years, and after 10 years of local production, there's only 3 retail outlets. Admittedly, all of them are Shell, congratulations, but only 3 retail outlets in all of Hong Kong. What's the reason that it's only 3?
Yeah, it's a little bit of chicken and egg, I would say, because we need to achieve an optimal balance between supply and demand under, I would say, a rather fixed retail distribution network. We have 41 stations in Hong Kong only, so this is to achieve, I would say, to allow our customers to have easy access to all of our fuel products under our portfolio, including conventional diesel, biodiesel, 2 different grades of gasoline products, as well as auto LPG. So we need to, really balance out everything for that.
So one of your customers is the Chinese University Hong Kong, and in preparing for this workshop, I learned about this tremendous success story. Recently, they converted their entire school campus-wide bus fleet to run on B5 biodiesel. So, and Shell was instrumental in introducing them to the product and helping them get set up. Tell us a little bit about that story from your perspective.
Yeah, of course, Anthony. So we are actually very happy to be able to provide a total solution to CUHK for that. So as you are all aware, CUHK has a very hilly terrain, in their campus. So the students and also the staff relied on the school bus service, every day to travel around the campus. But before Shell supplies fuels to CUHK, there were frequent breakdowns with the buses, and which led to serious disruption of bus schedule, and also created huge inconvenience to the users. So back in 2018, CUHK approached Shell for some advice on that. So our technical team went to have an inspection on their buses, and found that there was some significant accumulation of carbon deposits at the fuel injector systems, as well as the piston head, which led to, which is a common cause for poor combustion and also high fuel consumption. Yes, sorry. And then Shell proposed a trial with them, converting some of the buses from regular diesel to Shell fuel-safe B5 diesel with our exclusive Dynaflex technology. So within only 20 days from the trial, there were significant changes with the buses in terms of having the noticeably cleaner injectors and fewer deposits. So riding on this very encouraging results, we extended the trial a bit to pick out 3 of the buses to continue to run on Shell fuel-safe B5 diesel for another 4 months, for a longer trial period, which encouragingly demonstrated an even more significant reduction of carbon deposit in the overall critical fuel system components. So after the trial in 2019, CUHK decided to switch all of the buses in the bus fleet to Shell fuel-safe B5 diesel. And then it was observed that less black smoke from the tailpipe because of a fuller combustion, and also the overall carbon emission from the bus operation has been reduced because of high fuel economy, and also the use of biodiesel as a low carbon fuels. And also, of course, the frequency of the breakdown has been reduced, giving the staff and the students a better management of the time.
So I think that's a great success story that other bus companies would benefit from hearing. I want to mention now that we'll ask you now about the question of price, because when in our conversations, my conversations with bus companies, and indeed to some extent with parents, people say, oh, but it's going to cost more, how much more is it going to cost? Isn't that a barrier to switching to biodiesel? What is the cost today of a litre of fossil diesel in the Hong Kong market? Lawrence?
As of today, the list price of the fuel-safe diesel is $21.10.
Okay, and what is the price of B5 biodiesel in Hong Kong?
Extra 60 Hong Kong cents per litre.
And what percentage premium is that roughly?
It's around 3%.
3%. Doesn't seem to me a very significant premium, but Kyle, this is where I think your insights would be useful, both as a school leader and as a parent, and as someone who's got this extensive history of working with biodiesel to get uptake albeit in another market. Is 3% premium a deal killer, given the benefits of biodiesel for schools and for parents?
No, it really shouldn't be. And I think we really need to start thinking about transportation differently. This is going to be something, we're in this sort of old paradigm as we think about transportation, because we're looking at so many other areas of education and consumption, to be honest. Like, we know that food that is organically grown and isn't sprayed with pesticides, non-GMO stuff is better for our bodies, and we're willing to pay a premium for it. This is the same sort of mentality that we need to start bringing to transportation and other areas of the way that we live our lives. Putting diesel is not the best thing to put into. We can put in plant food for it, and that's better for the. So I think that we have some work to do on shifting our minds, the mindset there, and really where we're going with that, or what we need to do is awareness and education. So I think people are less likely to spend more when they don't know what the advantages are and what the pluses are to biodiesel or whatever that product might be, right? So I think that's where the education piece comes in, and we need to start educating Hong Kongers, schools, families about what are these advantages, and there's so many of them. We know that this is pretty much non-toxic stuff. You can pretty much drink it. It's not combustible like regular fuel is. It's local. It doesn't come from some far-flung location. As mentioned by ASB already, it's a circular economy. In most cases, this is far more ethical. There's no war required for this stuff. And I think everybody that's doing fuel for transportation is sort of headed in that direction. Even the monopolies are thinking this way. They're working in that direction. So I think we have some work to do there. And to be honest, Hong Kong seems a little bit behind, as we've seen on some of the maps shown earlier, that we can do better.
So picking up on this idea that schools working together can be more effective than schools working alone, what are some of the ways in which you think schools can influence this discussion and move the debate towards, a cleaner transportation system focused on biodiesel in particular? It's not the only solution. I'm not advocating only biodiesel, but it's a solution that's ready for the taking, and we could be using it tomorrow in our school buses. What can schools do to help move that discussion forward?
Yeah, so I think in particular around like the price and just sort of doing some mitigation around that and informing people. This is something that can happen systematically. Some of the things that we did at Green School is like, hey, listen, if it's more expensive, like it's going to cost more, what are the ways that we can change that or mitigate that? And collecting used cooking oil, like getting your kids out there. So it's there's many solutions. There's a lot of solutions embedded in this one to adopt biodiesel. And what I mean by that is getting kids on board. As you saw with the Green School population, those kids are going out and getting the used cooking oil, 5,000 liters. If it's more expensive, if that's the hang up, then get them out there, getting donorship, and start selling it. Coming up with benchmarking, your families and saying, listen, you're only allowed to pollute this amount every day. If you're over that, coming up with an offsetting or a mitigation scheme where they're paying into it to subsidize, because we know at this point the government's not there right now.
Nick, you in your research for your excellent report, you had conversations with lots of stakeholders in this industry in Hong Kong, and I think those conversations taken as a whole are probably the most recent snapshot that exists of what people are thinking. What are the bus companies thinking around this issue? What is holding them back? What's the obstacle in their minds?
A school bus company, right?
Yeah, school bus companies or bus companies in general. I would be interested in hearing that as well.
For bus company in general, with my understanding, just like the point that I mentioned, there are not enough refilling spots for them to refill. And they may take extra time for their drivers to go to the fuel station, and need extra mileage for the vehicles to travel to the to the fuel station for refilling, and this somehow means extra cost to them. Yeah. So with the case of school bus, I think if there's how to say critical size, I would say. a larger number of schools that make such requirement as part of their maybe their tendering requirement, then the school bus company may aware it is that their customer are looking for such requirement, and they may start to work with the all companies or the other operators like schools, etc., in facilitating the supply of biodiesel.
So that right there is a really good example of what schools can do together, but not so effectively operating on their own. If every school in Hong Kong decided that they were going to insert a clause in their bus contract that said the bus provider must use B5 biodiesel, the bus companies would have nowhere to go and no back door to get out of that clause by going around, going to another client. So I think that's something that schools might think about doing. I'm also reminded of Karl's great example, interesting example, precedent setting really, in the video in the Wi-Fi connection from Dubai, where he showed a storage tank on site in a school. And I think those tanks are 5,000 litres or 10,000 litres, which is enough to fuel multiple buses for a week. And the Dubai Fire Service Department regulations are no less strict than the ones that operate here in Hong Kong. And I'd like to hold that example up as something that's worthy of our collective kind of concentration and efforts to see if that might unlock the potential for distribution of biodiesel more widely than just these 3 points that are available right now. Thomas, on the policy question, imagine you were the Secretary for the Environment in Hong Kong or the Secretary for Transport in Hong Kong. What's the one thing you would do to enable the widespread use of biodiesel in Hong Kong?
I think not only one thing, should be many things, a few things.
Go for it.
Yes. The first thing is the education. That means we deliver with the advantage of biodiesel to the public. That means it is not only reduce the emissions of GHG, but also convert the waste oil to be renewable energy. The second, I think, is the policy for the collector, who must treat the wastewater and the residue during the used cooking oil collection. And then I think it is environmental instead of the business profit. So I think it should be priority to the local manufacturer demand instead of the exporting. The third thing I think is the mandate for the biodiesel to support its development. Because in Hong Kong, every year, we consume around 1.4 million metric tons of the diesel. So we can imagine if we use B5 to B30, it will bring us much more green air or clean air, not only for us, but also for the next coming generation. Finally, I think we put up a system for the emission trading system. So we can see the biofuel and the biodiesel are developing so well in Europe and the USA because they have the emission trading very freely. So other way, I think it is the most cost-effective way for the emission reduction without the government intervention. It is my comments.
Thank you, Thomas. Our calculations indicate that if Hong Kong produces 100,000 tonnes of biodiesel a year, and all of that were used in the road transport in Hong Kong, it would reduce the carbon emissions from road transport by 8.5%. Now, there's no other technology within the next decade that's going to even come close to having that impact on carbon emissions in transport. So I think that's a number worth bearing in mind. Coming back to you, Lauren. Actually, before we do that, I wanted to open to questions from the floor. Does anyone have any questions for the panel? Simon.
You're talking about B5. I assume that's 5% biodiesel and 95% petroleum diesel. In Bali, were they using a higher percentage of biodiesel?
The answer is yes. We were using B100, so it was pure biodiesel derived from used cooking oil.
And in that slide that was I think in the ASB presentation, it showed the level of mandates around the region. In Indonesia right now, it's B30, albeit not biodiesel from waste. It's a different feedstock, not so environmentally sound. But it's, to people who say that there's concerns about the use of biodiesel in engines, there's plenty of evidence just in this region from countries that have been using biodiesel blends up to 30% or more for many years without significant problems. Any other questions from the floor? Simon again. Yeah.
I was just wondering about particulate emissions, and I mean, presumably biodiesel, it may produce less. Presumably B5 produces the same, but will the government be saying, well, we should all go electric and not have any emissions at all? And does that mean that diesel buses of any kind have only got a short lifespan in Hong Kong?
Nick, go ahead.
A bit on this. For the heavy commercial vehicle like buses or trucks, etc. For electric, of course, it will be a nice solution, but it takes time, and the technology. We have 2 franchise bus company making trial for their electric buses, no matter it's single deck or double deck. For single deck, I think the performance is okay, but the double deck is still takes time to prove the reliability, because there's some issue reported, just like insufficient supply of air conditioning, etc. And the terrain in Hong Kong is very hilly and humid, which puts another pressure on such electrical system that improving. And for other systems like hydrogen in Hong Kong, we don't have any legislation ready, so it's a very long-term solution. So I would say biodiesel still is the most ready solution for Hong Kong, because it's fully compatible to existing facility in and also the new diesel vehicle as well. So I think it's a very ready one, and could be we could do the shift in a click. Yeah.
Lawrence, looking ahead, the government has what appear to me to be quite ambitious aspirations to decarbonize Hong Kong's economy by 2050. It's an imperative, of course, so we all need to put our shoulder to that wheel. But what is the outlook for biodiesel in the next 30 years? What role will biodiesel play in the mix of solutions that gets us to net zero by 2050, in your view?
Being one of the leading biofuels distributors globally, and also in Hong Kong for biodiesel in particular, Shell is committed to producing and supplying biodiesels and other low-carbon fuels in the coming future, in order to help to lower carbon emissions from transportation. So together with hydrogen, electric vehicle charging, these low-carbon fuels will form a wider commitment to the to providing a range of options of low-carbon transport to the consumers, to the customers, and in that sense, that will definitely help the society to achieve net zero emissions by 2050.
So to summarize what you just said, biodiesel has a role to play in a net zero future.
Yes, of course. Together with other options, of course.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent. Or is there any, Rachel?
Quick clarification on the estimate that you gave. Sorry, this is really more for you, but when you were talking about possibly reducing 8 to 10% of emissions, was that biodiesel B5 or another number?
If you used all the B100 in Hong Kong that is produced in Hong Kong and substituted fossil diesel with the B100, but obviously in a blend of B5, you get 100,000 tons of production and 1 million tons a year of fossil diesel use in the road transport sector. So that's 10%. The reduction is 85% CO2 emissions. So 10% of 85 is about 8.5. That's rough numbers. But the point is that it's an available option today. All right. To wrap this up, we've got a little bit of audience engagement using your favorite app, Mentimeter. If you wouldn't mind taking out 5 quick questions. taking out your mobile phones and scanning the QR code. Question 1. I now have a better understanding of the main challenges of implementing biodiesel in school buses in Hong Kong. Seems like we've achieved that objective. Question number 2. It's possible to change the fuel supply for school buses in Hong Kong to biodiesel. Some people still on the fence, and one person thinks it's impossible. Question number 3. Today's workshop has improved my view about the feasibility of biodiesel in school buses in Hong Kong. Improved your view means you came in here thinking one thing and we've changed your mind, I guess. Great. Question 4. If we changed your mind, then what parts of the workshop today influenced you the most? I think this is going to come up as a word cloud, right? Yep. Examples from other places, seeing it happen in other places, examples of it in action, case sharing, speakers sharing. Yeah, that was the idea. Terrific. And question number 5, last question. What are some ways schools working together might be able to influence getting biodiesel into school buses? It's brainstorming, folks. Let's hear your ideas, however, out there. Some ideas. Pressure on school bus companies, require it in our contracts, share best practices, schools talking to the bus operators, tender requirements, meetings amongst students and teachers to bring those changes, trialling the fuels, competitive contracts, all super ideas, and I'm hoping that we can get together and actually put some of these into practice and see what happens. Buy your own bus for B100. I love that idea. Unfortunately, the government at the moment hasn't issued a school bus license in Hong Kong, indeed a bus license in Hong Kong for something like 20 years. So getting bus licenses is another challenge for another day. This brings us to the end of our event today. I want to just say a few words of thanks. First of all, to our disembodied participants, Geoff and Matthew in Bali, and Karl and Steve in Dubai. If you're still on the line, huge thanks for getting up in Dubai at 6 o'clock in the morning to join us, and for all the work that went into the presentation from Bali today. And thanks to the Wi-Fi gods for behaving themselves long enough for this to be possible. Secondly, thanks to our panel of experts. I think we've really got, over the last decade since biodiesel started to be manufactured here, we've accumulated a lot of know-how, and what we need to do is socialize it and get some more examples going here in Hong Kong so that biodiesel can be more widely used. Finally, thanks to all of you for coming today. Please take what you learned here back to your schools and let's try to do something together. And last but not least, thanks to my awesome team of Jake and Michelle for sorting out the details to make today possible. Thanks, everybody.